What's up guys, FlamingVictini here, and I'm actually going to be doing a team building video this time. It's actually going to be a team that I used week 9 of SPL versus Tricking, and I actually made an RMT of just because I like the team so much. The team does have a Pheromosa, so it's no longer legal for play, but I wanted to do this team building video partly because I made that RMT and I thought, hey, maybe in video form this could also be pretty cool, and it also, the way I like to structure my team building videos, rather than just having the team there, I want to show how I built the team, how I thought through everything, so I thought that might be helpful. But yeah, this team is built around Z-Belly Drum Azumarill. Z-Belly Drum Azumarill is, I would say, like, pretty niche in the sense that, like, I don't think anyone else was really using this before I used it in SPL, and even now I don't really see it used that much, even though it just completely destroys a lot of teams. And I've won so many games, literally just with Azumarill, like, not only with Azumarill, but like I've gotten so many Azumarill sweeps. It's definitely the main way of winning on this team, even though my team has like Greninja, Mawile, Pheromosa, so it has a lot of dangerous threats, but Azumarill is easily the most dangerous one. So get into the set. Z-Belly Drum is really nice, Normalium Z, because I make this huge power. Z-Belly Drum is really nice because, well, one thing about Z-Moves is you ignore the taunt and encore, so that's a useful trait. But what's really key is that you can set up from anywhere. Azumarill can be at 1 HP. If it clicks Z-Belly Drum, if it actually gets to attack, that Belly Drum's gonna go through. And that's really powerful. You can set up on stuff like Thunder Punch, Mega Metagross, even after rocks if they get a low roll, but guaranteed if they're like deeply if they're at near full health. And Meteor Mash after rocks, you can use Intimidate to create setup opportunities. You can switch into an attack once, then if it's a weaker one, and then later on Z-Belly Drum can still live another attack. You can Belly Drum, attack, switch out and Z-Belly Drum. You can Belly Drum, and then if you stay at +6, you can Z-Belly Drum and completely heal up. There are a lot of really interesting things you can do with Z-Belly Drum, and it's much more consistent than Citrus Berry. Citrus Berry, okay, you can potentially end the situation at 75%. That's on the ideal turn where you Belly Drum, not having taken any prior damage and the opponent switches. But even then, Z-Belly Drum may offer still more, and you generally don't need that extra health. What you really need is that consistent setup. I found, like, actually the reason this idea came into play is because I was building a team for this tournament, and I just threw on the Azumarill, and I wanted it to be mainly an attacker, but I didn't really know what else to put on there, so I just tossed Belly Drum and Citrus Berry in the last slots. It actually didn't even have a knockoff, and I realized that I could have won that game if my Azumarill could simply set up, but I found it was really hard to find a position where I could take rock damage and take less damage than what would, like, the Citrus Berry it's very limited in how well you can really make use of that to guarantee you get a Belly Drum, and what ended up happening is that I just barely fell out of range to get my Belly Drum off, and therefore I couldn't sweep them with the Azumarill. So then the idea of trying out Z-Move came, and then when I tried it, it was really powerful. So yeah, anyway, so you're going to be running Knockoff just because that's the best move on Belly Drum Azumarill. I mean, the moves are pretty standard. It's basically the set that's not standard. We're going to fill in the EVs. Well, I'll fill in the EVs now, actually. 72 HP guarantees that you'll live a max special attack, neutral-natured Moonblast from Tapu Fini after a Z-Belly Drum. So that's a useful trait. I found it helpful when I was trying to take down offense teams using Calm Mind Fini and not going for bulky variants, because if Fini can check the Azumarill, it can also check the Mawile, it can check the Pheromosa. It's just annoying. My Greninja, well, we'll get there. So 252 attack, let's not put that in special attack. Rest and speed, still outrun stuff like Skarmory with some decent creep and stuff like that. Adamant nature, of course. Next, a lot of Azumarill can become very, very dangerous with spikes, because, well, for one thing, spikes punishes Intimidate switching, not so much relevant with Landorus being immune to spikes. That's for more so you want rocks, but also like a Mawile and stuff like that. And just in general, if people see an Azumarill and can recognize that it's Belly Drum, they're going to do their best to make sure that they keep a check for Azumarill around, so that even if you set up, they will find a way to stop it. So that could be, for example, keeping their Metagross at full health at all times, or something like that. So spikes really creates the ability to kind of just dance around that, make your own plays, kind of put the set up the field for Azumarill to sweep. And since I wanted to go for an offensive approach, Greninja was obviously my choice. And we'll talk about the exact set more later, because that's something I kind of determined after I filled in the rest of the team. Now, another big stop for Azumarill is Tapu Lele. Psychic Terrain, blocks Aqua Jet, and my sweep is just cut off, completely cut off. So I wanted Pursuit to remove Tapu Lele, and I also knew I needed something to force in Tapu Lele. I also knew just in general, like, Azumarill wouldn't be able to sweep versus every single team, so I wanted another secondary win con that can also kind of benefit from the same thing. So either Azumarill can force in Lele, and then I can Pursuit Trap it, or the Mawile, or the other Mon, so that the other Mon can sweep, or the other Mon can force in Lele, possibly remove Lele, and Muck can trap, and then Azumarill can sweep. So yeah, I chose Mawile plus Muck. This part actually took some experimenting. Originally, my first approach was using Pursuit Mega Metagross, but I really like Mawile because it really gels well with the Azumarill sweeping spikes kind of thing. Like, Metagross is pretty scary, but Mawile is terrifying. So, like, they're both scary in their own right, but Mawile is just, it's different. So I'm going to be using Intimidate, not Hyper Cutter, because this helps with Mawile setting up, helps with Azumarill setting up. In particular, as the team develops, you'll see it's slightly weak to Zygarde, so Intimidate kind of helps with that, because what we're actually going to be doing is running a ton of bulk. This much bulk actually lets you live a regular form Greninja's Specs Hydro Pump from full. You'll live stuff like HP Fire from Greninja, you'll avoid the 2KF from Psychic, from Top Scarf, Tapu Lele, you'll live a Choice Band 1000 Arrows after Intimidate, you'll live a neutral Dugtrios and Earthquake. So Mawile is really scary when it's bulky. It only has base 50 speed. You can go for an approach where you go max attack, max speed, heck maybe even you'll run Jolly. I really disagree with it, because you're really just, in the end, you're not going to get that much out of the speed, but you can get a ton out of the bulk. And Mawile has pretty decent natural bulk. Its HP stat is low, but its defenses are pretty high. So investing in that HP also really makes a big difference. It really gives you the bang for the buck. So I do still want to make sure my Mawile is faster than Skarmy and stuff like that. So I'm going to hit like a similar speed tier, basically. I think it's this, yeah, 180. You can run more creep if you want. Rest goes into attack. This much attack is still enough to ensure that +2 Thunder Punch is going to KO Toxic Hex. I'm actually going to be using Swords Dance, Thunder Punch. Now, I know that you think if you're running Swords Dance, you should run knockoffs so that you can still hit stuff like Ferrothorn and stuff like that. But this Mawile is really intended to help me break stall, and well, that's one really big help that this Mawile does, is it really does help break through stall, and for that I need Thunder Punch. But I just found in general that I need that immediate pressure on Toxapex and Celesteela quite often, so Thunder Punch is the really useful move. And while knockoff is nice for like some general like cases like Ferrothorn, you want to SD, then SD again, then knock off the Ferrothorn, or if the Ferrothorn is weak, you can just SD and knock off. It's convenient, but you can still break through stuff like that if you really want to. You probably don't need to, but once the Mawile has a +2, even in a resisted play rough, it's just going to be doing so much damage. You can also just keep on boosting and then just completely wreck. So I think Swords Dance Mawile is also better than 4 attacks, just for that reason, that if you're running bulk on Mawile, it doesn't really matter if you have to take a Bullet Punch or 2 from that Scizor. If your goal really is to remove that Scizor, but you're left with a +2 Mawile, that's going to be really dangerous. And if you don't want to SD, you don't have to. You lose, really the only benefit of running 4 attacks is you get to run Fire Fang. I mean, you really just can't fit Fire Fang on a set if you just can't drop another attack for Fire Fang. You have to drop SD for Fire Fang. So I can understand that, I can get behind it. If you're really Scizor weak or something like that, I can understand it. But I think SD is better in most cases, and Thunder Punch is just the right fit for this team. And Muck's going to be running an Assault Vest. This allows you to invest a lot in attack, knock off Poison, Jab, Pursuit, and the last move, it could be a Fire Blast helps. The Scizor is kind of threatening. It's annoying at least, but Rock Slide really offers a lot of security versus Volcarona, so that's what I was trying to go for right here. And we're going to try to maximize the bulk, but just still keep a lot of attack. So I'm going off of memory. I didn't like create this spread on the spot like this, obviously, but I think this was the spread. So yeah, so 141 is just a little bit of creep. If my memory serves me, it actually does outrun minus speed base 60. So interesting. 48 Spidef, it just boosts the Spidef and you get the benefit from Assault Vest. And the HP, I think, is 1 less than a Stealth Rock's number. It's like a number divisible by 8 minus 1, so you take less from rocks. And this is a jump point in the attack stance, so I'm just trying to boost up the attack as much as possible. Some Volcaronas have been running Chardy, but like Muck is still a pretty good check to them, especially since you deny Giga Drain recovery and it's a solid way to hit them. Plus defensive Volcarona can be very dangerous to my team, so I definitely want to keep that in mind, because then Sucker Punch plus Aqua Jet may not really be enough to take it out, and plus I may not want to lose Azumarill or Mawile just to take on Volcarona. Plus, if Zardwire is becoming a problem, I could surprise Rock-Slide it, but Muck really does a ton of important things here. For one, it covers some weaknesses that of Mawile being the Steel type, because oftentimes like you can use bulky steals like Scizor or Celesteela to check stuff like Alakazam. Tapu Lele and Specs Lele and Gengar not as much, but maybe, and those kinds of stuff. But Mawile is a little bit like not as effective on that side, so Muck really covers the Gengar, the Alakazam, the Tapu Lele. Obviously, the main purpose that I put it on was to pursue Tapu Lele, but all that stuff. Also, it's Poison type, which means that I can absorb Toxic Spikes, which is useful. Now, I don't beat Toxic Spikes in a 1v1, so you can't assume that T-Spikes will never be able to damage you, but if you need to remove T-Spikes very quickly, that's useful. Also, I think the T-Spikes are actually... I know that T-Spikes are removed before Spikes damage come into play. I'm not sure about Rocks, but that's also something to keep in mind. And Poison Touch is just that great ability that just lets you, like, annoy everything. Like, even the matchups where Muck seems most useless, it'll find some use. It'll knock off the Lando's helmet, it'll knock off the Steel types leftovers, it'll Pursuitamon and get a poison on it like Zapdos or something like that. So you would just use it to scout out a Pheromosa, since this was for Pheromosa meta, stuff like that. So Muck just had a lot of really nice general use, even though you didn't really actually need to use it much, because you'd often sweep the opponent's team before you had to bring it out or something. But so yeah, we've got this settled, and I am gonna decide Greninja's moves at the end, although I'm just gonna slap some EVs on here. Anyway, and yeah, you'll see that we're not gonna use Gunk Shot, but anyway, next, the team, look at it, it's like really weak to ground types, and it doesn't have rocks, and it likes some more momentum and stuff like that. Plus, Azumarill can also benefit from... Azumarill actually benefits a lot from Lando, because the Rocky Helmet can sometimes get it chips on stuff like Metagross, Rocky Helmet can get you the necessary chip on stuff like Metagross. It can get you that necessary Intimidate to set up, since Mawile's Intimidate isn't as consistent as Lando's, obviously. And those necessary rocks, checking just a ton of physical setup sweepers, etc, etc, etc. Like, you know what Lando does. It does it well, it's good. So yeah, this is a spread I usually run. 216, that's a jump point, and then just the rest in speed. You can speed creep more, obviously. A lot of Landos have been creeping more and more and more, because HP Ice is just more and more and more common. But yeah, one thing to note about how you play Landorus is that setting up rocks is important. Like, Landorus and Greninja, sometimes both of them can do something good, but if all you need to do is set up a spike or set up a rocks, and then you know that you can sweep with a Azumarill, just go for it. So, like, sometimes you need to prioritize hazards, other times you need to make sure you don't over-prioritize hazards. So, like, for example, sometimes the opponent goes to the CB Zygarde and clicks 1,000 arrows on the switch-in, and they predict you to use rocks to 1,000 arrows again. If you HP Ice, that's really good, because Choice Band Zygarde is a really big threat. It can revenge Azumarill. You're just generally bulky even, so it can take stuff like Sucker Punches and Aqua Jets. And as you'll see, my Greninja, depending on the variant, may not even have Ice Beam. So, like, CB Zygarde is a big threat. If the opponent's switch-ins to Landorus can't stop rocks from going up, like let's say it's Celesteela or something like that, then just click HP Ice, and then feel free to rocks afterwards if they switch. And more often than not, you'll catch them trying to be aggressive, getting a second 1,000 arrows in to push Lando in further. Also, a lot of the positioning in the early game is if you're playing a Lando mirror match, is who can position their Landorus into a favorable spot first. Because if you set up rocks as the opponent switches to Landorus, it's a really, really huge benefit, because you can click HP Ice as they rocks, or even if they HP Ice, but you get your rocks up and you get the HP Ice damage on them. So it's just great all around. And last Mon team is looking very slow. Greninja is kind of the only fastest Mon in this team, otherwise we've got some base 50s and Landos, so team needs some speed. Team would like some hazard control. It's looking a bit weak to spikes from the opponent. Team would like some swarm of like momentum, grabbing the positioning. Really good revenge killer because we only have 2 slow priorities. But Pheromosa basically, yeah, it says banned, but we're gonna ignore that for now. Choice Scarf Pheromosa, stellar revenge killer, high jump kick is a great sweeping move, and Mawile and Azumarill can really create the conditions for Pheromosa to sweep. For example, weaken Tabu Fini, Bodum. Mawile weakens Landorus, and just create the conditions for high jump kick to sweep. Now, I have used Scarf Special Pheromosa, and I like that a lot too, but Physical is just the right fit for this team. Ice Beam is just the best coverage move Pheromosa has, and it's still strong, even if we're gonna, I think I do minus, I forget what nature made this. I think I do minus Spadef because it's only Water Shuriken from Greninja, and Greninja is often settled fodder for Azumarill. Now, Taunt Greninja has actually become more common, so you still have to be careful, but yeah, and also you want to like eat Sucker Punch from Mawile, boost you better and stuff like that. And Rapid Spin the last move, and of course we'll be running plus attack, so you can get the beast boost from that solo Meow. And yeah, that's basically the team. Landorus and Pheromosa were pretty standard choices. Oh, Greninja, okay, so Greninja here is interesting. So this idea actually came from Joey because I was building the team, and like Joey had suggested Expert Belt when I was actually building Joey's Mawile Pythagoras team, and he should try Expert Belt on Greninja because he didn't like the lack of longevity of the Life Orb, and it actually worked really great. And I was really pissed off facing Expert Belt Greninja because it was so annoying to take down. So I decided to try that myself when building this, and it's really great. Like, you'll miss like tiny KOs like HP Fire on Full Health Ferrothorn or HP Fire on Mega Metagross after Extra Sensory or something like that, but it's really much better than Life Orb for this team, just because you have a lot more staying power, and that just makes you so much more dangerous, especially when Toxapex, Scizor, Heatran, Bulu/Tangrowth kind of teams are very common. Greninja is very threatening. I'll leave spikes there. HP Fire, Extra Sensory is really important, because if you look at my team, Toxapex is really annoying. Like, it can just spam Haze on Azumarill. It's kind of annoyed by Mawile, but it can go for a Scald Burn, and if it does, I'm screwed. It beats Muck 1v1 even though it loses its Black Sludge. It can beat Landorus if it gets a burn, and it obviously beats Pheromosa. So I need something to really consistently force it out. Also, Mega Venusaur is a huge problem for my team. As you'll see, it's very annoying for Azumarill, still annoying for Mawile, can technically 1v1 Muck and Lando and Pheromosa. So yeah, like for Venu, you really need to force it out with Greninja, but also make good reads and get up as many spikes as possible and just start pressuring it. But I do give more details about reading how to play the team as well in my RMT. So if you want to read that, I'd suggest doing that. I'll actually link it in the description. I think this is more so focused on how I built the team. But that's basically why I chose Extra Sensory and HP Fire. They also just have really nice coverage. I was actually just like, there's this tool like to see how many things you can hit with coverage and how many you can hit super effective, neutral, not very effective immune, so stuff like that. And then Hydro Pump I chose as my last move. It was either a Hydro Pump or Ice Beam. I chose Hydro Pump because I found that setting up spikes versus stall is useful, and if I use my Muck to pursue Sableye and get the poison on them, then Hydro Pump does enough damage to really take Sableye out of commission, which is what I need. And also, like, again, I was concerned about Heatran because the Heatran Scizor Toxapex thing was becoming common. And like I said, I was concerned about Volcarona. I also like hitting Lando but not creating a weak, like Bullet Punch, Scizor, and Mega Metagross are kind of annoying for this team. Like, definitely, like, they're not like a huge problem, but they're annoying. So if I don't have for Ice Beam on switch-ins, then I can really HP Fire, stuff like that. But Ice Beam is also really great. It's also better versus CL's double Defog Stall, because you can pressure Zapdos much better. A lot of if you don't reveal Hydro Pump, a lot of things mons resume Ice Beam anyway, or you can at least bluff Ice Beam a little bit, so you can still be scaring off Zygardes and stuff like that, but Ice Beam definitely has its benefits, so I think it's really up to personal preference. Once my preference is Hydro Pump, I know this is partly due to like psychological biases, but once I switched it to Ice Beam, and then I played a Mamoswine, and Mamoswines are like really annoying mon for this team because I have a bunch of slow stuff, and one of them doesn't want to take damage early game, and it can kill like everything, not until KO'd by U-turn. And if I don't have, if it's thick fast, then HP Fire can't even do that much. So I'd rather have Hydro Pump to just be sure that I can remove it from the equation, stuff like that. But Ice Beam is also very, very good, especially since Zygarde is a threat. You really got to be careful about Zygarde. But yeah, that's the team. Hope you guys understood how I went about building this. Hope you liked it. Obviously not legal anymore, but I mean, if you come up with some cool stuff with Belly Drum Azumarill, just message me about it. I'd be like really happy to see more people using this thing because it's a really, really underrated threat, and it really deserves more usage because it's just so scary. I can't tell you how many times I've sweeped with this Azumarill. Like really, I sweep with Azumarill way more often than I sweep with a Mawile. And it's a lot of games I don't even have to use Pheromosa to clean and stuff, even though it's supposed to. It's the broken one. I mean, it is broken, but yeah, Z-Belly Drum Azumarill, good at setting up, good at sweeping, good at what it does. You should try. You really should. Anyway, that's the team. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later.